What's up, fierce visionaries? Welcome to the Practice Your Perfect podcast. If you're new here, I'm Ashley Tate, your fairy goal mother. And my job is to help you achieve your goals so you can build that audience and design a life and business on purpose and get out there and unleash you something amazing. We have so many goals on this channel. For today, we're diving into a topic that I'm sure many of you can relate to. It's all about setting goals. And why sometimes, even with all the smart goal setting techniques out there, these goals just don't get accomplished. And if you've ever felt frustrated by this, you're not alone. But don't worry, I've got a system that's going to change the way you approach your goals. And you got to bear with me because it's towards the end that I'm really going to bring home what it is that we're missing. A lot of you may know some of the things I'm going to tell you at the very beginning here, but it's to build on something that you need to understand towards the end, and I'm going to bring that in. So we've all been there when we're setting smart goals that are specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, time-bound, all of the things. But somehow, even when we do everything else right, we still don't reach them. We still don't reach those goals. And that's honestly because they're only part of the picture. The goals are only part of the picture, even though they're a very crucial element, but they aren't the complete answer. So what I've come to discover is that goals really need systems to support them. Like the systems that help us stay on track, even when life gets super busy. Because if you're anything like me, I've got 2 kids, I run a couple businesses, and life is just busy. And we're constantly adding on new things, right? So when it comes to setting and achieving goals, I found that there are really 2 main types of people, and it's good to really figure out which one you are. So the first one is a big thinker. The big thinker, these are people who are excited about the big vision, and they really excel at dreaming up this big vision, but really struggle with the execution part. And they can struggle at the execution part. And sometimes they still get everything done. They know exactly what they want, but they might find it really hard to break down the steps needed to get there. The other person is a taskmaster. Now, these individuals really excel at executing tasks, and they give them a to-do list and they will crush it. But they sometimes have trouble figuring out the bigger picture of what they're doing and why they're doing all these small tasks in the first place. And so you can see how they're coming from 2 different angles on the spectrum, right? And the key to understand is which one you are. Because understanding whether you're a big thinker or a taskmaster is really important because it determines how you should approach your goals. Big thinkers need to work from the top down, while the taskmasters need to be able to work from the bottom up, focusing on how each task leads to a bigger outcome, right? Where the big vision people really need to break each big vision down into smaller tasks so that they can get to work. So if you think about it, milestones are really the bridge between those 2, right? So the truth is your big goals, all big goals, need to be broken down into milestones. And these milestones are smaller, measurable steps that really bring you closer to your vision. So once you've set your milestones up, you can really build systems around them to ensure you're making progress. So let's just say if you are not sure how to set up milestones, that you want to start a business, and the big vision is to start that business, right? But for some of us, when we think about starting a business, we're like, that seems monumental. I talk to people all the time about starting a nonprofit or starting a business, and it seems like there's so many things that you need to do, but to call it a true business. But really, all a business is going and getting the business license. But we can make it into a much bigger thing. And if we really want to make it comprehensive, we might want to look at developing a business plan, securing funding, launching a product or service. There are lots of different steps in there that make it a bona fide, I've started a business and this is what I do. So when we are creating those milestones, we might break it down into those 3 different areas. Develop a business plan, secure the funding, launch a product or service. Now, each of those milestones is a step towards your goal. But without a system in place to track your progress, it's going to easily get stuck or you lose momentum. And I think we've all been there. We know we had a goal at the beginning of the year, or we know we had a goal that we've set before. And then, I don't know, 6 months later, we're like, I didn't have a goal to do that. I forgot about that a long time ago. I stopped doing that. And this system that I'm going to show you today is not going to allow you to do that. It's going to put guardrails on your goals so that you can actually achieve them and make sure that you are staying in alignment with your priorities and what's most important to you to get to that ultimate vision of success. And that's where the importance of systems comes into place. So here's where most of us fall short. We literally do not have the system that we need to achieve the goals. And a system is essentially, in my case, is essentially a routine or structure that ensures that you're constantly and consistently making progress towards your milestones. So for me, it's what I call my daily docket. And every day I know what I need to do to move closer to my goal. It's not just about working hard, it's about working more efficiently and working smart and knowing what you're working on and why you're doing what you're doing every day. It's like intentionally setting up your day so that it's built around your goals. So as an example, like if your health is a priority, and it should be even if you're planning on starting a business, you need a system to really ensure that you're exercising regularly, right? That you're eating right and getting enough rest. And these are small systems, or they seem unnecessary, but these are systems that reduce decision fatigue and make sure you're staying on track without feeling overwhelmed. And an example of this would be something like when you are working out regularly and you're taking your vitamins and you're sleeping and you're doing all the things that you need to do, those don't become decisions that you have to make every day. Those just become part of like, this is a system so that I am 100% available and excited to show up and ready to do the work to work on the goal. Like you are setting a system up for yourself to work at the best efficiency that you possibly can so that you can achieve your goals. And that's sometimes what people forget. Now, the main missing piece that happens for a lot of people in their goals, which is the entire reason that I created the Practice Your Perfect workbook, is regular check-ins. Now, this is the critical piece that I think many of us are missing. Most of us forget to check in with ourselves. We forget that this is one of the most critical steps in achieving any goal. Okay. You have got to check in with yourself to make sure that you're actually staying on track with the routines and systems and things that you set in place, what you wrote down to achieve those milestones. Because if you miss a milestone, then you're not going to ever achieve that goal. And if you don't achieve that goal, then you're never going to get to that ultimate vision of success. So here's how I use the Practice Your Perfect. Every 6 weeks, I take time to review my progress. And I see what's working and what's not working and make adjustments as needed. Now, I know a lot of times people will say, oh, we do 12-week goals, we do quarterly check-ins, that's a long time. And even 6 weeks sometimes can feel like a long time. I'm always looking for that 6-week check-in. I want to check in with myself. I want to see where things are. But when I'm not on that 6-week check-in, then my life is on autopilot. I've already set the things in motion for my quarter. I already know what I think is going to work and I'm testing it. And I'll talk about that a little bit later. And these check-ins really allow me to pivot when necessary, and it ensures I'm always moving forward. So say that you're trying to secure funding. Maybe you're on that second milestone for your business planning, or say you're on the second milestone or the first milestone of I want to exercise regularly. I want to eat right. Well, maybe you're learning that during your first 6 weeks of trying out this goal of eating better, you're realizing that you just don't have time in the morning. It's just not working. You've done it for a couple of weeks and it's just not working. You've done it for 6 weeks. It's not working. So you check in on yourself and you're like, this just isn't working. Every morning I'm feeling late. I'm running late. Okay. So what I encourage people to do there is now find a different way. What's the pivot you can make? My pivot when this was happening to me is I decided to make smoothies. That was the fastest thing I could do. It was something I could prep for, and I would meal prep the night before so that I was prepped and ready to rock and not need to come back home. And when you shift your mindset to, I have a moment to shift, I haven't stopped, focusing on my goals, but I'm practicing. And the idea of switching to a practice mindset instead of a it either works or doesn't work mindset is such a forgiving place to work on your goals and to make progress. So I'm always moving forward, even if life gets busy, no matter what, I'm always going to be moving forward on those goals. And I want you to feel the same way. So in my Practice Your Perfect workbook and the framework, I really teach you how to set up a system of regular check-ins. You really might discover that, what worked for you initially no longer works. And that's okay. Because honestly, the goal is to refine your system as you go, but you first have to create the system. So here's how I look at creating the system for myself and for anyone else that is working through this framework. I like to think of it like the scientific method. Do you guys remember having to learn the scientific method in science? Okay, so we're gonna do a little quick refresher. So the first thing is you would do the reset week and you'd figure out what goals you want to achieve. Okay, that's great. You break them down into those milestones. That's fantastic. Now, what we do here is we're going to observe what we were doing before. This is kind of how the reset week works. What was working before? You're going to reflect on that and say, okay, was that working? What was I struggling with? What was not working? What do I want to let go of? All of those things. Then you're going to hypothesize. Remember, you had to make the hypothesis. You have to come up with an idea of what you think might work better. So now you're thinking about what might actually help. For example, prepping my meals or making a smoothie to save time. Those things work, right? And I thought they might work, so I tried them out. All right. So then I test it for the next 6 weeks. Great. Let's see how this works. And essentially what you're doing here when you're testing is you've already created the hypothesis. You've already thought through all of the kinks and all the things that might, up. Then you made a hypothesis and now you're going to test it for 6 weeks. This is like putting your whole routine and your whole system on autopilot. So you're not waking up wondering what you're going to do every day. You're not thinking, how is this going to work? Let me try this new thing. No, you're testing it out. You're experimenting right now. So the next piece of that is to evaluate. Okay, so once you're done, then we're going to evaluate if it worked and we're going to adjust it if necessary. So I love thinking about it like the scientific method because it's really just a feedback loop. And when you think about science, like that's all science is. It's a big feedback loop, right? And it allows you to course correct if something's not working in an experiment. You change it and then you go back and try it again. And so instead of it being all or nothing on the goal, that goal is a constant, it's like a living, breathing thing that you're constantly trying to practice and test and experiment with, right? So this to me is the key to long-term success. When you are experimenting and creating those feedback loops and all of that stuff, that's how you actually get goals accomplished. You have to have the check-in. So here's the bottom line. Goals without systems will often lead to frustration and a sense of failure. Nobody wants to feel like that. I don't want you guys to feel like that. I felt like that for a long time before I developed this framework, and it literally has changed my life. And I think it will change your life too if you put into practice. And give yourself a little grace when you are practicing this and keep that practice mindset at all times. But when you implement systems, break your goals down into milestones, okay? And then commit to regular check-ins so you can set yourself up for long-term success. It's not just about getting to that milestone. If the milestone takes, 26 weeks instead of 13 weeks, that's okay. Like nobody is behind you checking to see when you finish the goal. The idea is that the goal should meld with your life, right? You're designing your life so that you can make these goals happen and so that you can be successful. So remember that whether you're a big thinker or you're a taskmaster, you can achieve your goals. It's just a matter of finding the right approach for you and creating a way for you to check in with yourself. So if you're ready to dive deeper into setting up your systems, download my Practice Your Perfect workbook, or you can work with me directly. I have a link that is on Ashley Tate ashleytate.com. Work with me and we can work together to help you kind of move through these goals if you feel like you need a little more help. And yeah, it's designed really, it's there to help you create the life and business that you've really always wanted. Like, you guys can do this. I'm so excited to like share this framework with you guys. So anyway, focus on what truly matters. Stay fierce on your goals and get out there and unleash something amazing. And I will see you guys next week. Talk to you soon. Bye.